Hello and welcome. Today I'm in the tier 10 US battleship the Montana, and I'm using these modules and commander skills. It's a match on the map Trap, and I spawned near the A side and my team decided to go A and B, so I headed in that direction immediately. And we made first contact with the enemies a few minutes into the game, and I fired at the Donskoy. And I dealt 17,550 damage in the first salvo. That's quite lucky, I would say. Next salvo is gonna go on something like that North Carolina. It seems the enemy team is actually heading into the B cap with big ships, so perhaps it's a good idea for me to try to stop somewhere around here. Mostly because I can keep all my 12 guns targeted at the enemy, while still being protected against random citadel hits, most likely at least, because I will simply be unspotted. I think this salvo was aimed slightly too low. I wish it had been higher, but it's okay, it happens. I think the next shot should be on the Des Moines, since a Des Moines is a cruiser, a fairly soft target, and you know, it's a very important target to take out. We do have a destroyer advantage in that we have 3 destroyers, the enemy team only has 2, however we already have lost a cruiser, so taking care of that slightly more is important. Nobody seems to be going to this C cap. Also, wow, another citadel hit. That's quite lucky. So, next shot is probably going to be on either the Bismarck or the North Carolina. It seems the enemy team actually is going really heavily into the B cap, so they are pushing. And I think it's rather important to, at least at this current moment... Oh, okay, they have 1 ship at sea. I think at this moment, though, it's rather important for us to try to take advantage of the enemies pushing as much as we can. Another 13,000 damage. I mean, I've already done 55,000 damage to the enemies, and I haven't really taken any in return. And, you know, sure, it's great for my own results, but I think it's also pretty good for the team. Mostly because I don't think that you should play the game in a way where you push randomly. You should push at the right time, and until that moment, you should essentially try to at least somewhat sit back or try to dodge as much as you can, you know. Don't go ham right out the gate from the start of the game. Otherwise, you will simply get picked up by the enemies. I mean, look at how much damage I've done to that Bismarck and the Des Moines already. Or, I guess the Dmitry Donskoy doesn't really count, but the Des Moines and the Bismarck, sure. They've taken so much damage because I've had a really good position on them, despite me being far away. Didn't really matter. And I think, oh, and look, another citadel hit, because again, they are full broadside onto me the entire time here, because our team decided not to push. So I think actually sticking back is a good idea early on, or I guess it depends a lot on the situation. In this game early on, it is a good idea. In some other games it isn't. So what I think is that people have this real fear. Like, many players seem to have a real fear of being too passive. They want to be aggressive all the time, and I think that's actually the wrong mentality. It's also the same... It's the same kind of wrong mentality as is the idea that you should stay back all the time. No, you shouldn't. You should do what's appropriate at that current moment. And sometimes that means that you should push really hard. Other times it means you just sit back and farm as much as you can. Because right now, I mean, I've already done 100,000 damage. Mostly, and I think a lot of that damage came because the enemies were broadside onto me. Because I didn't rush. Imagine if I had gone to the B cap and tried to push. This damage wouldn't be there. Would somebody else be capitalizing on it? Over this on our team? I don't know. Hopefully, but that isn't necessarily the case. Now, I do think picking off the Des Moines is an important ship here, because it's a radar cruiser. So, at this moment, our team is actually in a bit of a pickle. You see, we've lost 4 ships, the enemy team hasn't lost any. However, we've done, or at least I've done, quite a lot of damage to many of them, but we just haven't finished any of them off, like this Des Moines for instance. She still has 6000 HP, but she's reversing, so I'll just hope for the best with my salvo. Now we do control the A cap, but I think we do have to think about going into another cap zone, because, well, you can't win the game by only holding one cap zone. Now, okay, so there's an Atago. Let's try to pick her off, and hopefully she will not torpedo me, or even if she does, hopefully we'll be able to deal with it. Okay, my first guns went over the island nicely, and goodbye. Excellent. So, we've killed 2 ships at least. And hopefully we'll be able to take out that Dmitry Donskoy as well. And then, perhaps, we might even think about going into the open and eventually try to set up for a push into the B cap. Because again, you need to push at the right times. You shouldn't just push randomly, nor should you just stay back randomly. Like, look at the chat right now, right? One guy is really upset that we essentially didn't push with them. But if the enemy team goes really hard into the B cap, the last thing you want to do is push really hard into them as well. Because defending is easier than attacking, I think it's a much better idea to simply try to stay back, try to weather the push as best as you can, try to use your destroyers to, you know, torpedo, etc. And if you can do that, then once your team consolidates on the cap zone like we did on A, they turn around and go back again, and they will be able to fight with a stronger force, while, you know, not having to worry about things like crossfire. Whereas the enemy team did have to worry about crossfire at the start of the game here. You know, and that is what led me to have so much damage output already. It's not even 10 minutes into the game and I'm at 145,000 damage. So now I am in the secondary range of the Friedrich, which is actually a bit of a mistake, I think. However, I think it'll be alright. I will try to pick off this North Carolina instead though, because I'm angled towards the Friedrich and she is quite angled towards me. Besides, there's a Fletcher over there, and the North Carolina was somewhat showing me a broadside. Okay, one thing though that is a bit of an issue with the idea that you should push at the right time. The issue ends up being that you might not be able to use all your heals as a battleship, and I think that's a bit of a waste. However, you know, sometimes that is necessary. Hopefully we'll be able to... No, we didn't pick off the Des Moines. That's unfortunate, but this North Carolina is still showing a broadside, so let's try our best. Also, the Fletcher took out the Friedrich nicely. Unfortunately, she went down to the North Carolina herself. However, I think I will start going in now. We do have 4 battleships left, and while I am taking significant amounts of damage, hopefully my push will make my allies come with me, because if we can all push at the same time, I think that the enemy team doesn't necessarily have a huge advantage here. At least not one that is game winning. I mean, it could be. Of course, it depends all on how the enemy team plays it. Now, the one thing I do think was slightly unfortunate was that I sailed into the secondary range of the Kurfürst. Now, she isn't at the right angle to you. Okay, never mind, she is at the right angle. So, I think it's an issue, because the Kurfürst could basically sit there and start reversing and deal very much damage to me. Or a lot of damage to me, purely with the secondary is going off. Oh, okay. Good. Picked off the Des Moines, finally. Although I think it's slightly late for that. But, I mean, look. It's a 3-on-3 now, and it's 3 battleships against a battleship plus 2 cruisers. Although I do think that both cruisers are fairly healthy. So it could be an issue, besides the battleship is Kurfürst. Oh my god, the Edinburgh is also completely full HP, just like the Hipper. Okay, so at this point my plan is to try to pick off the Edinburgh and or the Hipper with my guns, and then try to ram the Kurfürst. Now I don't find that to be very likely, because the Edinburgh does have fairly good torpedoes, and those are very likely going to try to interrupt me, so I will have to try to maneuver to avoid those. And I mean, the Edinburgh isn't making much of a secret out of trying to torpedo me, otherwise there would probably be no reason for her to show broadside to me like this. Okay, so she's turning, I think she's turning around to fire torps from the other side, so let's try to pick her off as much as we can. Secondary targeting as well. Okay, come on. Damn, not quite enough. 1000 HP. Okay, there are the torpedoes. Let's try to avoid them. Excellent. First salvo avoided. Wait, he actually fired them together, not like one by one. That's surprising. I don't recommend doing that. I recommend firing all your torps at the same time. I think that is the best idea. So, goodbye Edinburgh. Oh, and now there's a Hipper, and the Hipper probably also has torpedoes. Oh well, it is what it is. But I mean, meanwhile, the Friedrich and the Bismarck can do basically whatever they want, right? Although it seems the Kurfürst's secondaries are targeted elsewhere. I'm gonna take this one. Unfortunate, but I do have Damekon, so I will be able to deal with it. Now the Hipper is firing torps from the other side, which could be an issue, but she is down to 2000 HP. Hopefully they'll be able to pick off, and now kiss. Oh, and the Kurfürst actually shielded me from the torps. Well, there goes the Kurfürst, and that's a Kraken from the ram, and now it's a Friedrich plus Bismarck against a 1000 HP Hipper, so yeah, this game's pretty much over. I don't really see the enemy team having any chance to come back here. So again, I would like to reiterate, don't necessarily think that staying back is always a bad thing. But also, don't stay back all the time. Try to push at what you consider to be the right time. What is the right time? I can't really tell you. At least not in an easy and concise way, because there are so many circumstances you should account for. And, you know, I'm not always right about that either. I just wanted to bring this video or game as an example of one where it did work out nicely. So, 600,000 credits, 20,000 experience, 4,000 free experience, Confederate, Kraken Unleashed, high caliber, 252,000 damage, 5 ships sunk, 6 citadel hits, even got a flooding, ramming overpowered, and almost 3,000 base experience. Now I have to say that our Fletcher did play a large part in this game, but again, he also played around our team being somewhat defensive while the enemy was being aggressive, because he made use of that to try to torpedo them quite a lot. Like that Friedrich sinking that you saw earlier, that was completely because the Friedrich was being aggressive towards us and the Fletcher could get some nice torps because of it. By the way, this was only a 14-minute game. I did 252,000 damage in 14 minutes. I didn't really tank that much this game, but, you know, it is what it is. Also, I didn't even get to use all my heals. And here's the captain and ship XP. You know, the 20,000 XP is mostly due to the multipliers. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then like it, and I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. We have a new patron now. Thank you very much for your support. Rant and Plan 1986, and I hope I see you guys next time.